Welcome to Season 12 of the Social Work Rants Podcast, providing an inside look of the social work mental health profession. Social work being political, the struggles of social work entrepreneurship, the intersectionality of mental health and finances as it relates to social work and society as a whole. Let's get it. Hope you enjoy. Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants Podcast. I'm your host, Bas Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in wherever you are watching or listening to the podcast. I appreciate all the love and support. Gracias a todos por su apoyo. Continue to follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Rants Podcast. Please like, share, download episodes. Hit the like button if you're watching it on the YouTube. Leave comments. It helps with the algorithm, and the algorithm always changing. So definitely leave comments if you listen to the podcast on Spotify as well. So yeah, today's episode is tax season. If you haven't filed yet, you got to April 15th, unless you're seeking a extension. At least in America, it's tax season. For those who are waiting for a tax refund, today we're going to talk about ways you could use your tax refund for my fellow social workers and mental health professionals. So, um, especially April is financial literacy month, and myself as a certified financial social worker, is definitely my responsibility to talk about personal finances and how it affects us social workers, and I'll be doing that, quite a bit for the last couple of years, especially since I got my financial social work certification a couple of years back. So, and also, I help people of color and the sandwich generation talk about their finances while caregiving. So that was part of my business model, and also I'm branching out into reaching out to corporate and nonprofit, executives to talk about attrition, burnout, due to caregiving in the workplace, and talk about mental health in the workplace. So, um, on the topic of tax refunds, uh, I know for myself, I did an extension this year. I'm usually on point with, but this year I did the extension. I needed it, and time goes so fast, and I still got my pops in the hospital, so I definitely put in that extension, and I'll be filing definitely this between this month or early next month. So if you had to file an extension, don't feel bad. It is what it is. As long as you filed that extension, you should be good in terms of penalties from the IRS. Just make sure you put that paperwork in. Now, there's a couple ways. If you're expecting a refund, I actually owed last year. I was so annoyed. I actually owed, and then I got hit with property tax increase last year, and then my town implemented a school tax on top of the property tax. So definitely a loss last year. So even though I can't stand the big beautiful bill in terms from a social work perspective and macro, meso, and micro levels that has affected people in social work already, and the anticipation of affecting many people in social work, especially if you work on the medical side. But in terms of taxes, there might be like some benefits. Definitely reach out to your CPA or someone who is in the know about the taxes. There is some benefits, especially if you're a business owner, like many of us social workers are, in terms of some benefits of Big Beautiful Bill. But in terms of ways to save your uh, income. If you get a tax return, number one, definitely build your emergency fund. We've seen every day people are losing their jobs. COVID proved no job is safe. Um, so it's a tough time out there. Like Oracle, like laid off 30,000 people. African American women. As there's reports that the number of African American women is now who lost their jobs in 2025, going beginning of 2026, has now reached almost 600,000. So times are tough, and the Orange Man in the White House is doing everything but helping the people, and the economy is we've seen after the effects thanks to the economy. So number one, build an emergency fund. All that to say, so preferably in a high yield savings account. If you need a referral link to Ally, Ally does not sponsor the podcast, at least not yet. From my mouth to God's ears. Um, but I do get emails and I do bank with Ally, and I do get referral links. If you want a referral link to open up a high yield savings account, and your goal this year is to save some money, whatever it is, $1,000, 2,000, whatever amount your goal is to try to save, build that emergency fund up. Definitely reach out, and I could get you that link. So, number one, build an emergency fund. Usually, the kind of like the standard is to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up, and again, preferably save up in a high yield savings account because you do accrue better interest. Depending on the bank, uh, you got it's best if you Google online high yield savings accounts, and I've seen rates as high as like 5%, all the way down to like 3.75. I think Allies is currently at 3.75. And of course, whatever the Federal Reserve does in terms of cutting rates or increasing rates, so that will depend on the percentage of the high yield savings account. But definitely try to save up as best you can, 3 to 6 months expenses. Definitely at least try to do 1 month if you can. Um, Kind of like a rule is try to save $1,000, and then try to build up from there, because times are rough. Like literally, inflation is kicking everybody's butt. Has been kicking people's butts since 2020, and gas prices are. This is Easter weekend, so if you celebrate Easter, I hope you have a great Easter. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. Usually, I already seen driving around Philly, already seen places, gas stations in Philly already at $4. I was in Washington D.C. the other day, and certain gas stations were $4, 4.09, um, and I'm sure other states are already past $4, $5. Some states, I'm sure, wish that there was that $4 because probably six or at least $6. So between inflation, the gas prices going up, food prices going up, everything's going up except the check. I think that's been like my motto of the podcast the last few episodes. But definitely 3 to 6 months of living expenses to try to save up. If you get a good amount back from the government in terms of on your tax return, try to pay down high interest debt, because the way the economy is going, like these rates, the credit card debt, uh, student loan debt, those interest rates are going to spike up, and student loans are definitely a hot mess right now. And we're still dealing with student loan debt. Potentially, those interest percentages is going to go up, which is going to affect your monthly payments in terms of student loans. If you got a car, car note you're still trying to pay off, whatever your highest interest that is. If you got a credit card, definitely look at your statements, and you can see the APR percentage, whatever the highest. If you have more than one credit card, pay down that card first, and work your way down to try to eliminate your debt. And if you don't have the next step, if you don't have life insurance, get a life insurance policy, preferably a term life insurance. You could do whole life too, but generally you could get 20 or 30-year term. And it's cheaper than getting a whole life policy, but definitely get some sort of life insurance policy because you never know what can happen to you. If you have a family, definitely protect your loved ones. Make sure your beneficiaries are up to date. If you have a policy, you know, life happens, people get divorced. You don't need your ex getting a bit still be on the beneficiary list. So if you need to change those beneficiaries, do that. But definitely get yourself a policy. We are not doing GoFundMe for funerals in 2026. Life insurance term is relatively cheap, especially the younger you are. If you're healthy, it should be pretty cheap. Just have to shop around to get a good rate for your policy. If you're able to, if you get a tax return, start a retirement account. IRAs accounts, which is individual retirement account. Uh, put in money if you work for 403B. Many not for profits. That's the word I'm looking for. Not if you work for a not for profit, like many of us social workers work for a not for profit, uh, and they offer a 403B and offer a match, but make sure you put money into to match your that account, and then if you ever to leave that job, you could get that money and roll it over into a individual retirement account when you leave that job. So whatever money you put in, you can get that money back without dealing with any taxes. So um, definitely we got to start thinking about our retirement, and so the field of social work, just what we do every day, it drains us mentally, drains us physically, kicks our butt. So I'm dealing with it on the physical side, just years of doing field visits and living in Jersey, but working in New York. So my body is definitely taxed from being doing a lot of field work in most of my career. So I definitely got to be thinking about my retirement, and at least start. You got to start somewhere, start small. Again, if you're able to, if you're getting a refund, even if you don't get a refund and you actually owe the government, um, and you have some disposable income uh, saved up or whatever, do as best you can, do these steps. And again, I said do the best you can because I've worked at jobs that literally every dollar was literally spent between rent, food, transportation. You know, every 2 weeks, that money was gone. And especially having kids, and like kids need clothes or paying a car note and paying for insurance and paying for food and having some pocket money to buy some coffee. Like the money goes. So I get it, and money is tight. And I've been there, done that, and still kind of going through it now. So as best as you possibly can, um, if you get that tax refund, and again, If you got it and it's like I work my butt off, I'm getting the refund. I'm going on vacation. I'm doing whatever. I'm getting some Jay-Z tickets or whoever is a concert that's lined up. You want to see Boyz II Men or whatever. Um, you know, do you? But just some tips in terms of ways to, if you get a refund, ways to use that money properly to set yourself up that you're not dealing with further debt, because who knows what's going to happen with this economy. I definitely feel it's going to get worse before it gets better. And again, the orange man is doing whatever he can to screw us over. So he's been doing that forever. It feels like forever, but just one day at a time, folks. Just a quick episode for y'all today. Definitely, again, follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Rants Podcast, all one word. Again, like, share, leave comments. Uh, I'll be busy this weekend, Easter weekend, doing some more research because I'm writing my next book on the intersectionality of mental health and finances. I'm actually planning a co-hosting a workshop on April 21st, which is a Tuesday at 12 o'clock. As soon as my co-presenter has the details of it, I'll be sharing that with the flyer. And then in May, I'm actually going to Maryland, National Association of Social Work, Maryland in Ocean City. They got a conference. I'm actually presenting at the conference there. So looking forward to that. I actually got to get cracking on doing that presentation because pretty much I got to do it from scratch all over again. I did a version of the presentation before, but a lot has changed since then. So I gotta tighten up that presentation, and so we staying busy, folks. Stay safe. Again, if you celebrate Easter, happy Easter. Enjoy your Easter holiday. For those who are school social workers on, if you have spring break this week, today is Good Friday, and if you're off for Easter, enjoy. Practice some self care, do something, go on vacation, do staycation with whatever is gonna keep your mind sharp and get rid of that burnout, whatever that looks like for you. Do that. Enjoy. Until next time, folks. Stay safe. Peace.